G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be covering the product that I bought recently that I've been playing around with that I think is truly going to change Fortnite. This thing is so broken and so insane, I guarantee a lot of you are going to want to buy it by the end of this video. So I'm going to make this like a little bit of a first impressions, walk you through what the product is, how it works, why I bought it, what I like, what I don't like about it. Then I'm also going to show you how to set it up and how to get better at it yourself. Now, also, if you're not super into this kind of a video, you're not going to buy the product, you're happy with what you have, this video is going to help a lot of you guys that always ask me, how can I get better at Fortnite quicker? Because I have just changed the entire way I play the game, and I'm going to show you what I've been doing for 3 days that have taken me from having absolutely no clue how to play the game, basically starting fresh again, to already being at the point now where I consider myself pretty decent again, and I guarantee within a week I'm going to be even better than what I was before. So it's a double hit video. Going to talk through this new product that I got, but I'm also going to give you kind of like a tutorial if you've been struggling to get better or you just don't know why you're not getting better. This is going to be the video for you. All right, I'm not going to drag it out. What is the product? It is the GMK, so Gaming Mod Kit joystick. Now, you may have seen this called the Martos joystick. Obviously, I have a custom made one. I've got my NRG Aussie there. I've got my logo. I've got a Control Freak Galaxy on there as well, so nothing too crazy. And it's got one switch. Doesn't look that crazy, right? Like, it's just a joystick, but let me show you what this thing does. If you haven't already seen someone using it, I am going to blow your mind. I'll give you a detailed breakdown of exactly how it works, all the keybinds in a little bit, but give me 2 minutes to prove to you why I think this is the most broken device that has ever come to Fortnite and why it is unarguably superior to just regular KBM or even controller for that fact. So, straight out of the gate, I know there's gonna be one main question you're gonna ask. Aussie, why are you using a joystick when you can just have double movement on mouse and keyboard? Just if you download Wu-Ting or you download Keys 2X. That is a good point. Double movement is good. It gives you the ability to be able to get movement more like a controller player. You can now stray further while not looking in a straight line and still keep momentum, but it is not as good as 360-degree movement. Controller or joystick is always superior movement. You can move an entire 360-degree circle, but also what that means for Fortnite is you can maintain more momentum on a joystick, especially with mouse and a joystick. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to do it myself, but you'll notice a lot of these strays, if you try to do this with double movement software on, you're going to have that happen a lot, where it slows you down, where I can look a lot further right and a lot further left and still run at full momentum. When that comes to box fighting, when it comes to getting into a box and moving at speed, it is insane. You will notice the difference straight away. The first thing I noticed was, if you guys ever watched my stream, I used to struggle a lot with side jumps. Side jumps for me just felt really awkward, especially to the left. I am now a few days in on this, and already my side jumps and my momentum when it comes to building is so much better. But that's not even it. Let's also talk about the main factor, which is honestly better than the movement. I know what you're thinking, Aussie, how can it be better than that? This is the thing that makes this so broken. When you think about a normal KBM, you have to have your finger on W, A, S, and D, which means that to move around, you have to have 3 fingers taken up at all times. If you want to do any other build, like let's say you're like me and you have edit on E. I had edit on E, which means that I could never, ever move right and start an edit at the same time. Because to move right, I have to hold D, but I've got to take my finger off D to press E, right? That's probably a very normal problem a lot of you guys have. I don't have that. I have every single bind in the game bound, and I can still keep my thumb on this joystick at all times. It is insane. For example, I used to have my wall on Q, which means I could never move left while building a wall. I could never move right while editing. My movement is now perfect because I never have to take my thumb off this joystick. Not only that, if you guys haven't noticed, I'm a bit of a weirdo. When I first learned how to play KBM when I was like 5 years old, I never used my pinky. So my pinky sits off to the side of my keyboard. So I have every single bind in Fortnite comfortably on my keyboard on 3 fingers. And I have my thumb on the joystick, which means that my movement is better than it's ever been, especially while fighting, because I can do absolutely everything I could do before without ever having to take my fingers off the movement binds. I can even do movements that I used to not be able to do. Doing a double 90 in a single jump. That took me about 10 minutes to learn, and it's one of the harder building mechanics to do in the game. I have been on this for less than 2 days, and there's already things that I can do on this that I could not do on KBM since Season 2. Let's run through what this actual device is. So it's a Gaming Mod Kits joystick. If you go to gamingmodkits.com, you can buy it for yourself. It costs $50 USD. This is less than half the price of a good keyboard. I mean, when you're looking at keyboards like the Apex Pro, it's like, what, the sixth of the cost of a keyboard? It's half the price of a good mouse these days. It is ridiculous. You're gonna get a custom 3D printed joystick. It just slides straight under your keyboard. It is plug and play. There is no software whatsoever. It is 100% allowed on Epic. This is not against any terms of service. All you gotta do is go into your settings and make sure you have the settings right, because obviously, same as when using double movement, you wanna make sure it's not being picked up as a joystick. So you wanna go to your settings, you wanna go to mouse, you wanna have ignore game input off, gamepad input off, and you wanna have lock input method as mouse on. That is it. You change those two settings and you are good to go. It functions as is. I want to mention right now, this is not sponsored. Gaming Mod Kits has not paid me for this at all. There is no sponsored incentive going on here. I gain nothing from promoting their product. I'm just promoting it because I want you guys to try it out if you're looking for something new. And I think this is genuinely one of the best products I've ever tried. I reached out to Gaming Mod Kits because I've thought about getting one of these for months now. I DM'd him and said, hey, how long is it going to take to ship to Australia? Because I really would like to get this before the arena reset. He said, look, mate, I'll make you one tomorrow. I'll send it out in a couple days. I love your content. I've been watching it a whole bunch and I'll do it for free. I never asked for that. I never did this as a sponsored thing. So I have been given this device for free, but I let him know. I said, look, mate, if I hate this product and I think it's terrible, I'm going to say it. Okay. And he said, that's fine. I want you to give your honest opinion. And when I first got it, I unboxed it. I took it out. I started playing with it. I really didn't like it. I thought the controller movement was going to be more insane because I was really, really bad at building up momentum on a joystick. I thought that it was going to take me way too long to relearn all my binds, but I promised my viewers and I talked about it for a while that I was going to give it a solid shot. So I stuck it out for another day and I fell in love with it. I'm being 100% genuinely honest when I say that this is one of the best products I've ever tried for Fortnite. And if you put the time into it like I am, I promise you, you will get better than you are now. The timeline for me is I think it'll take me about a week to 2 weeks to get as good as I was before, but I won't be as consistent. It'll take me about a month to get fully comfortable. But when it comes to free building, I am already better at free building on this device in 3 days than what I have been in years of using my regular KBM. And I am not kidding. If you've watched my streams, you will know I have been playing with this on stream, so I haven't just taken the clips of me doing well with it. I've shown the clips of me doing poorly. It is insane how comfortable I am on this already, and that's what I want to share with you. How can you use the device? What should you make your keybinds? And then better yet, for a lot of you guys who are maybe on controller or maybe you're on regular KBM, what am I doing to improve my skills so quickly that you can also do even if you're not using this joystick? Now, I know this looks a little bit silly. It's just so you can see my keyboard cam way bigger so you can see what I'm talking about as I show you. Obviously, I have the Gaming Mod Kits joystick. I just got it in black and white. I put a Control Freak on there, a Galaxy Control Freak, just because I like the fact that, you know, it gives me a bit more control on the joystick. Other than that, I'm using a HyperX Pulsefire Haste mouse. This is obviously my custom painted one. It is white and blue rather than just being all black. And I use a HyperX Alloy Origins Core 60% keyboard. This has black putting keycaps on. That's why it looks so bright, but it also has linear red switches in it, just so you know what I'm using for the rest of my gear. Now, going through my keybinds, the reason why this wasn't that hard for me to learn and it felt really comfortable is because instead of resting my fingers on W, A, S, and D, I now rest them on S, X, Z, and C. And now so everything has just moved down a row. So when I used to have wall on Q, now I have wall on A. Instead of edit being on E, it's now on D. Instead of having pickaxe on F, it's now on V. You get it. You just slide it down a bit, which makes it feel really natural early on. The only keybinds I really had to change was instead of having, spacebar to jump, obviously I had to make that X, but that's really comfortable with my middle finger now. I also moved cone onto my mouse button because that used to be a weapon slot, but I've really wanted to make cone on my mouse button because it feels more comfortable. I now also have floor on my mouse button, and I had to move stare onto C. I always had stare on C, but I used to press it with my thumb. Now I press with my index finger, and I can't press crouch control with my pinky. If you weren't weird like me and you actually used your pinky, you'd be able to, but I now press it with Z, which feels pretty natural. So even though my builds aren't the best, because again, I've never been the best at building, there's certain maneuvers that already just come so much more naturally to me. Like certain high ground retakes now, I feel infinitely better at already. Like a lot of the fundamentals within a couple of hours I was able to do. Just a lot of really normal high ground retakes. When it comes to box fighting and piece control, that is where I noticed the biggest difference is being able to just move around a box and get, be able to slide cones in, be able to edit, be able to keep moving. Just like the fluidness that I have while building and fighting now feels so much better. It's actually incredible. I'm really surprised how how quick it was for me to pick up. Because if I can pick this up quickly, you know, with my boomer brain, surely Zoomers like you should be like having a field day on this within like an hour. A lot of the builds that might not look that impressive for you, just certain build techniques, I could never do regularly. It's taken me years to be able to learn a lot of these building mechanics. This is me on like about, I would say, 2 proper days of practice. Now, moving on to what has my actual practice routine look like? How am I getting this much better this quickly? Because this is what I want to answer for a lot of you guys who maybe are playing, you know, on a regular keyboard and mouse, regular controller, you don't have the joystick, or you just got the joystick, or you just want to get better quicker. So I'm not going to try and pretend I'm the best. I'm not insane at the game, but for my age and the amount of time I actually spend on this game, I've gotten pretty good, pretty quick on a new device. And I think the main trick to that is practicing routines you're actually going to use. So free building is going to be a really good way to get comfortable with your binds very quickly, but practice routines that are useful. So what do I actually practice? Pick a high ground retake that you think is actually effective, that's not overly fancy. For me, it's going to be doing that double 90 into like a clicks retake, because this is a really, really effective way to gain height. I've done 2 90s, and then I've done a stair, and then I've jumped and done a stair on top. That's a scissor jump. It's like the click start to zone wars. That isn't a high ground retake that I can actually use in game. It doesn't use too many materials. It's very effective in multiple scenarios, and it practices a few different abilities. It practices 90s, which you're obviously going to want to be able to do on any keybinds. Not that I just did them. You're going to want to be able to do a scissor jump as well, which is that ability to then be able to transfer your momentum to go up another layer. Things like that. Again, high ground retake, a great one, just learning how to do high walls. Just jumping out, learning how to do high walls, because that is going to be one of the most effective and actual useful methods and things you should be practicing in game. Being able to do doing a side jump onto a stair in case you want to do some kind of a high ground retake with a stair. So again, being able to do that movement a little bit quicker, turning and doing a 180. Again, that might be fancy for some of you guys, but a lot of you guys, that's really basic. But that's a movement you're actually going to use in Fortnite a lot. Being able to do just a few different types of side jumps, being able to do high walls, that is the majority of most of the build fights you're going to have to do. Obviously, you can get crazy and start doing some phase sway stuff. Like I could start practicing doing, you know, crazy cone retakes and stuff that looks way fancier, but I'm almost never going to use that. Stick to movements you're going to use a lot. For example, I was playing pubs today. I've realized that with my new jump bind and my new stair bind, I was really struggling to do 180 movements or doing anything that was kind of like, you know, a thwifo cone. Being able to do something, whoops, again, messing up my builds. I'm still getting comfortable. Being able to do anything like that. As soon as you recognize a movement in game that you're struggling at, that you actually want to use, go practice that in creative. Go back, free build that for 5-10 minutes, get comfortable, and then go back into a game. Box fighting. Obviously, just the ability to be able to build boxes, practice your edits, practice edits in awkward positions. Try to think as if you're versing someone. If I'm versing an opponent, I don't want to just practice doing all my edits standing right here. If you're practicing all your edits from this position in the box, that's great, but in an actual fight, you're not going to be there. In a fight, you're going to be pressed up against this wall. You're going to be trying to go for right-hand peek. Maybe they're pressuring in your wall, so you're all the way back here, and you're trying to, you know, you're trying to edit a little peek that way because they're on the left. Maybe you're trying to get a peanut butter, but you want to practice a peanut butter near the wall. You want to practice doing a right window edit so you can, you know, take that cone if there wasn't a cone there. Things like that. That is what you want to practice. Things you're actually going to use in-game a lot. That's what I do for free building, but there's also a few other maps that I think are phenomenal for getting good at the game very quickly, and I want to show you those now. This map is the best creative map for practicing. You've probably seen mech demons like Noah Riley doing it all the time. It is Raiders Edit Practice Map V3. This is the Peace Control map. So the code is 681897606633. It'll be in the description down below. Pause the video. You can grab it at the top of the screen right there. The reason why this is so good is it's actually practicing things you're going to do a lot, and especially if you're working on new binds, it'll actually make you have to use those builds and then pull out your weapons. If you don't know how the map works, at the start of each of these sections, you can actually shoot the number and it will tell you roughly what you're supposed to do. Either box up the bot while staying far on the ramp, or triple edit up and then full box the bot. So you walk in, you'll see there's a bot up here. Obviously, if I wanted to do the way that they just described, you would triple edit up, you would then box up the bot, something like that. But for me, who's just getting used to my binds, you don't have to be that fancy. You don't have to do it the way that Raider recommends. Raider is phenomenal. He knows how to make good maps and how to make you better, but practice at whatever level you're at. When I first started on these new binds, what I wanted to practice was just jumping up, putting a cone in, editing a window, and full boxing the bot. Sometimes I didn't even want to practice putting the cone in just so I can practice my binds and my movement, full boxing the bot. That's it. This is an absolutely fantastic way to practice a maneuver that you're going to do a lot in game. It's making me use a lot of my keybinds. I have to pull out my weapons, especially for some of the other maps later on that I'll show you in a second. The bot actually moves. So again, I don't have to practice just this one routine. I could practice doing different things. So I could practice on this next one, maybe doing like a peanut butter. I could practice trying to get a full piece control through a peanut butter, figure out where I can put that cone, things like that. You don't have to do it the same way every time. But try to actually practice maneuvers that are good in game. Don't do stupid edits like this and then try to do, like, you're never going to use that in game. Try to think about this as an actual opponent. Try to avoid getting shot. One of the biggest advantages I've found to my joystick straight off the bat is I really like practicing swinging past. I can build that whole box and keep moving hard to the left the entire time. That is incredible to me. It's really fun. I like doing it, but you got to practice a lot of different stuff that you're actually going to use in game. They start to get a lot harder as well. You've got different ones to practice different skills. This kind of a one, it says build 2 ramps while running up the ramp and then full box the bot from the side. So again, practicing something like that. I haven't done this one as much, but it's just something like that. Edit the stair, get a nice right hand peek and shoot the bot. Things like that. You don't have to practice it that way every time if you don't want to. Sometimes I like to do this. Piece control that. You might go for a peanut butter. Things like that. Just practice those kind of maneuvers. You're going to use them a lot in game. You then also have ones that change the verticality. This one is great because the bot moves location a lot. So you got to be smart about how you do it. So you got to, you got to piece control this bot if you want to. Then you got to double edit down and then you got to piece control this bot. Obviously, I'm doing it all through middle windows, but sometimes, like especially here, a middle window might not be the best. It's going to put me over to the left, but it's going to be really hard to get piece control in. Maybe here's where you practice doing a peanut butter and get really good positioning on that wall as if you're versing a real opponent. Again, this kind of a player, maybe practice doing a left-hand window, but again, you might think, okay, that left me really exposed. Maybe I should do a middle window. Practice doing different builds, but pretend like it's a real opponent. You'll get really, really good practice. This is the build. Again, you've probably seen Noah Riley if you've ever watched his streams. He starts off every stream just doing this for so long. It's all he does for like half an hour. That's how good it is. And that's Noah Riley, like one of the best fighters in the game. Practice this map, go through the drills, practice your new builds, practice your edits, and use them in an actual realistic setting. Now, aim training, I'm not going to talk about for too long because I'm not doing too much of it. I already have decent aim, and obviously adding the joystick hasn't changed my aim on mouse, but using something like Skaavok's and in-game aim trainer is fantastic. Finding parts of the course that you like, whether it be, Tile Frenzy or maybe some of the tracking courses, can be a phenomenal way to work on your aim. You don't have to do an hour a day. If you've got like 10 minutes every single day, that'll improve a lot. Just work on being more consistent with it. Try to pick up your pace, but only insofar as you are still actually hitting the target reliably. Don't pick up the pace too much if you're going to miss a lot of your shots. Obviously, try to do some of the other courses as well. I love horizontal aim tracking because I think this is a really important part of aiming. If you're going into a game, you're going to need to be able to track a target really, really well, especially horizontally. We have launch pads in the game right now, so sometimes vertical tracking is good, but the most common time you're going to have to track someone is just when they're running in front of you in a game, when they're running through a box. You want to be able to track them properly. Not that I'm doing a very good job of it right now. Let's see if I can at least kill the zombie before it leaves the map. Right now, my aim is feeling very off. Maybe I should go back to doing some more aim training. But this is an absolutely phenomenal way to get better at the game quickly rather than just sitting in creative and practicing fancy free builds all day. Coming in and doing something like this will help you out immensely. Another fantastic map to work on is you have, I think it's Antics is how you would pronounce it. You have their crosshair placement map. Now you can use the piece control or the edit and aim course, but my favorite one's the crosshair placement. So one thing that I in particular have a lot of issues with is my crosshair placement. You might think, what is that? Well, that's when you're doing your edits is over editing them like crazy. So a lot of people when they do their square edits, myself included, I have a tendency to do something like that. It does the edit, but it's nowhere near as precise as what it can be. If you watch players like Benji, Fishy, Booger, the reason they look so fluid is because they're doing that. And if you come into this map, it shows you where you should be doing your edits and you try to stick to being on those lines. So again, if I'm doing this one, you're going to try and stay within that circle. You're going to try and stay within that circle. And you're just going to get better at doing this. And then obviously this over time will now make you better when you actually get to the game. You don't have to do this course too many times. Once you get the concept of how you should be doing these edits, as you can see, even the stairs, I'm already over editing like crazy. Once you get the concept of this, you can do any edit course that you like, but just keep this in mind when you're doing these edits. Like, look at that. Instead of having to do that, which you'll see a lot of pros do, or a lot of players do, you just do that. You come through, you do that. And then as you get a little bit better, you can pick up the pace a little bit and you can start going faster. This is the best thing ever. If you're struggling with your edits and you're over flicking a lot of your edits, even things like this, instead of flipping a stair by going like that, which is what I still have a tendency to do, learning to flip your stair as minimally as possible. This is going to have such better crosshair placement. You're then going to be able to hit more shots. You're not going to be flicking all over the screen. You're going to have way more control. So come in, try to do 10 minutes of this map every day, work on your crosshair placement, and then when you get into game, try to make sure you're still being very smooth with your edits. The last step after all of that is just going in and playing arena, playing pubs. I'm playing pubs because I'm trying to get used to my build binds and my weapon binds. I feel really comfortable in creative, but as soon as someone rushes me, I panic and I fumble through my edits. That's what you want to be able to do. You want to practice in game. Don't just sit in creative all day. A lot of you guys who aren't even on new binds might find that your builds are perfect. Everything's perfect in a game, in creative. You get into a game and you fumble it. Start playing more games. If you don't like playing arena, you don't like playing pubs, do realistics. Find us realistics. 2v2s and 1v1s are so much fun. They're really, really good practice. You both get actual realistic loadouts with a good amount of mats. You can have a bit of a build fight, but it still feels like a normal fight. Make sure you are still practicing your fights in a realistic setting. So again, practice taking high ground off an opponent because they're not going to let you do all this fancy, crazy high wall stuff you've been practicing, and it will let you get better fight knowledge. Identify what mechanics are now going wrong in those fights. Go back to creative and work on just those mechanics. Don't stick to the fancy free builds that you know how to do. Get uncomfortable, start doing something you suck at, improve, beat people, and it feels much more rewarding. Now, I'm going to be uploading a whole bunch of content using this joystick. I'm going to be doing some kind of, like check-in videos with how good am I getting, 1 week, 2 week, other tips I would give you for how to improve, and just, it'll be a bit of fun. You guys liked my Path to Pro series. I kind of stopped that one because I was doing a lot more news content, and honestly, it wasn't really going the direction that I wanted. This is a lot more fun for me. I am now starting fresh on an entirely new setup. All my keybinds are different. This is the kind of advice that'll help you improve, and I'll take you through my journey on what's making me get better faster. So if you see in 2 weeks, I've gotten so much better and it's taken you, a year, 2 months, 6 months to get just as good, there's probably something you're not doing that I'm doing, and I can now share that with you. So if you like these kind of videos, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comments section down below your thoughts on anything I talked about. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.